Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of Jiva Live. We have a great show for you this evening. And without further ado, I'm going to give you a quick little intro and kind of tell you what our game plan is for the evening. We have Kayla Principato, professional volleyball player, former Jiva high performance player, Jiva club player, collegiate national player, University of Denver standout, and so many more. We have Katrina Jansen, member of the Australian national team, professional volleyball player, collegiate player over here in the United States for Caldwell University, played on the Jiva adults team that recently went to nationals and had a nice performance there last year. And again, just another outstanding person, two of my favorite people that always have a smile on their face. Anybody will just tell you good things about both these young ladies. The other person we have here is William Doyle, our Director of Sports Information and Competition. Thank you again for all you do, Bill, and we appreciate it. And of course, behind the scenes, we have Aaron Laban. Aaron Laban is on our Facebook page taking your questions, comments. So if you have something to add, you want to know something about these two players and what it takes to be professional, what it takes to be and take that path to the podium to become a future Olympian or a national team player, they're going to be the best ones to ask. So please put those questions in the comments and we'll get to those. If we happen not to get to them, please leave it there. We'll get back to you. We'll get in touch with you. And please direct your comment to the exact person that you want on the show. Without further ado, I kind of led into it already. The idea of this show tonight is what USA has branded the path to the podium. So we have two different professional athletes here from two very different countries, Australia and the United States. And we're looking at their path to what it takes to be a national team and hopefully an Olympic team athletes. So let's do some short little intros and kind of just give us how you're doing and where in the world are you right now. We'll start with Kayla. Kayla, how you doing? Where are you?
Hey guys, hello everybody. I am currently in New York, and I am making the most out of this quarantine situation. I think that it's easy to be put in a situation and see the negatives, but I've really spun that and I'm learning a ton of new things. I'm cooking, I'm painting, everything, you name it, doing lots of workouts to stay in shape. So I'm just making the most and being positive over here and actually enjoying this time. So I think everybody can use this time to become a better version of themselves, which is definitely what I'm trying to do every day.
Awesome. Thank you, Kayla. And Katrina, haven't seen you in a while, but glad you're doing, I think you're doing pretty well. I know you've got through some trials and tribulations, but same question, how you doing? Where in the world are you?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. I'm currently in Melbourne, Australia. So it's Friday morning at 7 a.m. and a nice cool 32 degrees Fahrenheit. So pretty chilly over here. But yeah, during this quarantine period, just trying to make the most of it. I managed to get my motorcycle license a month ago, which was great. Doing quite a few workouts every day, bringing my mum into it, try to keep her fit, and also sorting out some injuries that I got whilst in my pro contract last year.
Gotcha. So that's what every coach wants to hear is that you're injured and you got a motorcycle license. I'm sure they were thrilled about that.
Well, from the motorcycle, so I'm doing good on that.
Wonderful. Now, I'm glad to hear you're doing well and your recovery's coming through. And we can talk about that later on if you want, because I'm sure people are interested in what happens in that regard. Mr. Bill Doyle, how are you doing and where are you right now? Bill, you are muted right now.
Hi, I'm in Red Hook, New York. I'm mostly at home. I have an office close by that basically is not occupied by like two other offices, so that's fine. I'm doing probably more Jiva work now than I do when Jiva is actually in session because of keeping up with everything, all the changes, the daily changes, and writing stuff and then doing these things.
Yeah, I know we could spend a whole show on going over the craziness of USA Volleyball, Jiva Volleyball tournaments, the rules coming down with the current pandemic, without a doubt. And, as far as, getting back on the court goes, but I think that's a show for another time, but definitely some things that people want to know. And I do know if you are interested in that information, you guys have posted a tremendous amount of resources on the Jiva site and the USA site. So we thank you for that. So the idea again of the show is to kind of go from a timeline of Kayla and Kat's junior time to who they are now as professionals. So first question, Kayla, where did Kayla Principato start her love of volleyball as a junior in the Jiva region? And, what cool story, could you tell about, something maybe when you were, 14, 15, 16 years old? When's the day you fell in love with the game, if you know something like that, or just a cool story?
Yeah, so I actually started my volleyball career. I didn't even know what volleyball was. I remember I came home from school one day and I said to my mom, I'm going to try out for the volleyball team. And she was like, all right, great. Little did I know, my mom ended up playing, she played in college and all that, but I wasn't familiar with the game. I didn't really know what it was about, but I randomly just said, I'm going to try out. Went to the tryout and I said, wow, I think that this is going to stick around for a while. I really like this. And so I ended up playing for my high school, and then my high school coaches were like, if you're really serious about this, you should start playing club. So then I started playing club, and then that's where I was introduced to Jiva, because then through those coaches, they said, there's Jiva, this awesome regional team that you get to play at high performance championships. You should go for it. So I decided to go for Jiva, and that was the moment. I think Jiva was the turning point of my volleyball career. And I have a lot of stories about that. I'm excited to get more into them later, but the main thing was I went to my first high performance championships. Still, I don't know if I was 15, maybe 15 or 16. And I remember walking into that convention center in Des Moines, Iowa, and my eyes were like, oh my God, what is happening? There was teams from all over the world. It was like, in my 15-year-old eyes, it was the Olympics of volleyball, meeting everybody from all over the world. They had a band playing, dancers. It was an experience of a lifetime. And like I said, we'll get more into that later, but that's where I started.
No, thank you, Kayla. I agree. And we'll talk about a lot of that stuff later. You definitely a great little intro there. So Kat, same story, what was the day Katrina Jansen fell in love with volleyball as her young self? And, what was the reason why?
Over the years, there's been multiple times when I fallen in love with it, like constantly. I originally was a basketballer when I was young. Didn't enjoy running at all, which is a big part of basketball. And so when I was 14, the basketball center I played at opened as a state volleyball center. So I moved over and decided to try some beach volleyball. Loved it. Got into the state team for indoor 2 months later. And so that first state under 15s team, we went up and played against the other states. We ended up winning, which was just amazing considering I never played volleyball that 3-4 months before that sort of thing. So that was my first time I fell in love with it. And then I got invited to train with the youth team or junior team for Oz. So slowly building my way up, and I was a middle back then, nice and tall, still very tall. But the training with the Oz team, with the Oz juniors was hard, very hard work as a middle. And then I switched to opposite, and that was the next point in time I fell in love with it again. Fell in love with playing right side. So it was, and just constantly been trying to stay right side. That's my position from now on.
Great story. Go ahead, keep going.
Yeah, that just constantly moved up through the years in the Oz junior team and everything. Then went to college, and yeah, all good.
Gotcha. No, we'll get there too. So Kat, quick question on that side. So how long had you been playing volleyball before you got asked to come and try out for their Olympic national pipeline?
I had been playing, so it was 2017, I got invited to come along for the senior team, so to play with the Volleyroos. So I'd been playing for, 10 years? No. I can't remember, 7 years maybe.
7, okay, fair enough. And
It's all
Kayla,
right.
no, it's okay. Good, no, great. I think it's, I think your basketball and your cross sport definitely helped with you, just being a great athlete and picking up. And Kayla, kind of along the same idea is, what or who introduced you to Jiva High Performance, and what makes Jiva High Performance different than just playing for a club team?
Yeah, it's really different than playing for a club team, because Jiva brings together an entire region. When I was introduced to Jiva and I went to my first tryout, there was girls there from the entire Jiva region. We got to play together. Then once you're selected for the team, you got to then train with this set of girls from all over the Jiva region, which I didn't know any of them. And usually I feel like club teams, it's more people that from high school or that kind of stuff. So it really brings together a different set of girls, as well as you're getting a totally different experience, because once you get selected to make a team on Jiva, then you're training with them and then you're traveling to a destination. So my first year with Jiva was in Iowa, and then we were in Florida the following year, and you travel to the High Performance Championships, which is the competition where you are playing against people from all over the world. There, not only the US, but the world as well. New Zealand was there. There was Hawaiian teams. I remember my first Jiva experience when we were in the hotel with this Hawaiian team, and these girls, how many years ago was that? Maybe, oh man, I'm not good with the time. A long time ago. I still talk to them daily and on a constant basis, and we're in contact, which is really special. And Jiva in particular, for me, it was a turning point, and it was the building blocks for a career. And it made me open my eyes and say, this is, you can go so far with volleyball. This is just the beginning. And everything really started to happen at Jiva. And I did have Coach Doyle and Coach Titus as my coaches, and to them I owe a lot of thanks, because this was the start of my career, and it was the start of my future in volleyball, that you can go to school, a Division I school, and get paid, and then you can be on the USA Collegiate National Team, and you can play professionally. So it really opened my eyes and changed a lot.
No, great. I'm glad we helped you out so much, Kayla. Without a doubt, and you've made us proud. Without, and Jiva High Performance is better because of people like you. So Katrina, same idea is, Kayla said, hey, when I first walked into the gym for the High Performance Championships, it opened my eyes to a different type of volleyball, a different level of volleyball, and in fact, even different rules of competition. I don't know, and I believe I've asked you this question, but I don't remember the answer in the past. Did you yourself ever take part in the High Performance Championships or some other tournaments?
Well, I didn't take part in anything in America. Mm-hmm. In Australia, we have the national comps each year, sort of thing. So we travel around Australia playing different states, and that was always pretty spectacular. Okay. But the size of those always seemed so big to me, and then coming over to America and playing with the adult nationals, that was crazy. It was just unbelievable how many teams there were at that. Because I'm used to having the 7-8 teams per year level sort of thing for Australia, because we're such a small volleyball country. Mm-hmm. So
when was your first international competition?
My first international competition would have been 2010, 11.
And where was that? Do you remember where it was?
Thailand.
Okay, cool. So who you went with the Australian national team to go play a tournament in Ireland?
Yeah, the Australian junior team. So it was a training camp, and we played some high school teams over there and everything. Mm-hmm. And so just seeing the different level of volleyball over there and how they played, their game was so much different to how we play. The Asian level is a completely different skill set, completely different game. So being that Australia is big, tall, we have to try to figure out how to play against those small, fast players.
Yep. Yeah, and I think we'll go right into that. So when you look at international competition, various countries in the world have different styles of play, going from collegiate styles, especially the NCAA, even from Division I Or you look at Big Ten volleyball tends to be a more powerful game. The US tends to be a more power-driven game, a higher game. Where if you look at some other maybe D2 or D3 schools and some Eastern Asian influenced teams, they tend to be a quicker game. And then you get teams that kind of hybrid and mix into both. Did you find any challenges in going from one team system or culture or style of play to another, whether it be going from club to college in the speed of the game, from college to pro, from college to national team or collegiate team? What change or style did you find to be the most challenging or different? I'll pose that question to Kayla first.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, definitely. There's definitely different levels. I mean, starting out just from going to club to a Division I program, I played volleyball at University of Denver, and I definitely noticed that right away. Well, once you're playing, there's obviously going to be new expectations and new challenges that you come through every year, especially as you continue to that ladder where you're getting higher and higher. So I noticed that from club, that was a totally different experience moving into college. And then college, when I played for the collegiate national team, that was even a different level, even though my college team, we ran on an international system, more of a system that USA Volleyball runs on. That's because my coaches were in the USA Volleyball program. So our practices were structured like that. And a lot of our drills and the things that we would do were like the collegiate national team. So that was the same, but even then it was at a higher level because you're with a select group of people that were picked to be in this kind of environment. And then moving from that to professional was definitely another leap. When I was playing in Finland, we got to play for Champions League, which is a really high level competition that a lot of teams don't get to play in. And that was just another crazy level because first you're dealing with a language barrier, people that aren't speaking English. That was one of the main obstacles, let alone moving, across the world. And it was a new system because there is different rules and other things that happen in an international system that we weren't playing with in college. So yeah, that Champions League, then we were playing against, I got to play against Jordan Larson's team in Turkey and the number 1 team in Russia, the number 2 team, like just really, really high level teams. And to deal with that and adapt and averse to that it's really cool actually, because it's a really cool progression. And, looking back on it, it's like, wow, I did all that, and you're able to adapt and you're able to change. But yeah, I mean, it definitely is something that you have to be able to adapt to and learn from in every sense. I mean, I wouldn't say that. I can't really compare playing against Jordan Larson to a college match, right? I mean, you can make some, but it is a huge leap in levels. And that's why I think it's really cool to evolve with volleyball and learn every day and still get better,
Yep.
I'm still not where I want to be,
So when you played against those top teams in Europe, did you find were they playing a more power driven game? Were they playing a quicker game, or was it literally both at the same time?
It depended. It depended on each team. So I mean, the Russian teams were huge, and I'm a tall person, but I remember standing at the net and these girls were huge, like I'm a tree. They're like, I don't even know what to compare it to because they were so tall. And surprisingly enough, they didn't have such a fast run offense. But that's because they can hit over blocks and around blocks and their verticals are through the roof, so that was an interesting thing. But then in Turkey and other teams in Russia, maybe when they weren't as tall or as big, they still were very tall, but they ran a more fast offense. So it kind of depends on everyone. And that's why we did a lot of scouting and stuff, and you get to know their systems before. So that definitely helps out. You get your timing for the block and all that set up. So.
Oh, awesome. Thank you for that insight, without a doubt. And I just want to point this out to everybody in the audience. You have a great kid from Long Island, that has now been to all these places in the entire world because of volleyball. I think that's fascinating. So, Kat, same thing. As far as the game of volleyball goes, what transition was the most challenging, or what systems did you find the most interesting to either be a part of or compete with, in volleyball?
Well, me being a big player, I rely on high, kind of almost slow but powerful kind of plays. That's what I'm strong at. But so at college, we kind of used that to the best of our abilities. We made the most use of that, and it was really good. But then going into the Australian senior team, when we play against small Asian teams like Thailand and Korea, they're small. They're really small, but they're fast and they fly through the air. So we have to be fast. So our game set had changed. Like I'm high, like slow hitter. I had to then transition to being fast, getting out there super fast, getting out quick, getting up high, still hitting powerful, but just the speed of the game just increased drastically. And then when going pro over in Sweden, we started off even faster. We had started with an even faster game, but it didn't work for especially me. So we tried to slow it down and work to my specialty at that point. But it's just the different speeds. You have to adapt and you have to figure out what works as well in the game and who you get up against.
Yeah, no, thank you. I agree with that insight. I thank you for it too. And same thing, kind of like you have the opposite effect of Kayla. You got a chance to come to the States to play and then, see some other places because of the game of volleyball. I think it's just amazing. Bill, I'll open it up to the same question. What have you seen as far as the different levels of play within different countries and different styles? And maybe even you want to speak to the idea of, some of the rules that are different in international play that people listening should be aware of too.
I think the main thing for the international game is people have to learn how to play the game. They have to play all the way around. And, we have thousands upon thousands, tens of thousands of volleyball athletes in the United States. We have tens of thousands of outside hitters, tens of thousands of middles, tens of thousands of setters. We have very few volleyball players. And that's the main thing. Kids get designated, well, depending on the coach, you're short or you're tall, so you're the setter, and you're the middle, and you're this, and you're that. And the number of subs we have in the game, I think we have a libero and 18 subs. It's crazy. It's just crazy. And I think the idea that I love the most about the high performance system when we played there in the international system is that kids play all the way around. Mm-hmm. I was fortunate enough a couple of years ago to go to Moldova to coach, and basically coaching kids that learned how to play under the old Russian style. And they just played. They would just, watch this, they were just big and strong, but they played everywhere. They had no idea that you had, liberos and you only played the front row, you only played the back row. They had no concept of that, which was great. It was great fun. So that's the part that I see the difference in, and I really like that. I like having kids come in who, never get to play back row, and all of a sudden now they're high performance athletes, and they're playing all the way around, and surprise themselves every time they touch the ball, essentially. So yeah, I think that was
yeah, no doubt about it. So we're alluding to that idea. So as long as everything stays the same, and maybe it's different in different countries and different federations and different rules, but the basic international rule is 6 subs, and right now it's 6 subs unlimited. So that means you only have 6 back and forth. So that means you're only coming out of the game maybe once, and in some federations you can't even re-enter, or you can only re-enter once. So I already know the answer to these questions, and I'm asking them for the exact reason Bill just said. So Katrina, you were the tallest player on your college team. Were you a primary passer in that team's offense?
For the most part, no.
Are you sure?
One of the years I was.
Okay.
One of the years I was when our outside was really small. For a few of the years, there was the first year, no, when I came in, I was subbed out. But then after that, my confidence in back row started building, and then I was able to stay into the back row, which also helped with my pro because I got recruited as an outside hitter. So when I went pro for the first time, rather than a right side who never passes, I had to pass all the time and play outside. So just the confidence I built in the last 2 years of college by playing that back row playing all the way around, it helped significantly for my volleyball career overall.
Awesome. Perfect answer. Thank you. And Kayla, same question.
It's about as self-serving as it gets.
Oh, totally. But we did it to Kayla too. Kayla, when you walked into the team camp for high performance and you were told the first time, Kayla, right sides play back row and you need to play all the way around, what was your thought on that? Oh no, or this is going to be really cool?
Yeah, I was used to playing at 6'2" because I'm a right side as well. So I was used to playing 6'2", and then they're like, oh, you have to play all the way around. And I was like, oh my God, it was great news for me because I was like, you mean I don't have to come out of the game? Like I could stay, and then I could stay in the whole time. And at first I was nervous because I'm like, oh my God, I don't know how to dig. I've never, flying at my place or whatever, but you just learn how to do it and you kind of get in there, and it was great news for me. I loved being able to play. I much prefer that, not having to leave the game. Like you're so immersed in it that you don't even know what's going on around you because it's like you're just there the whole time. It's awesome.
Perfect. If there's any one thing to learn from that last 2 minutes of conversation, teach your tallest player how to pass and play defense and play back row. You will be rewarded for it in the very, very near future, more so than you think. Mr. Doyle, anything more to add on that? I know that's a big one for you.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the reality. It doesn't matter if you're 6'2" and you can pass, you also can usually leave your feet at the attack line and hit the ball at about 6 feet off the net. And now we're telling kids to hit 3 feet, 5 feet off the net anyway. So it's just more offense. It's more, and we're building volleyball players. It's just, it's a whole different game. And, the specialty, what does Kessel say? Specialization is for insects.
Yeah. Do not specialize.
Yeah. The reality is, be more of a generalist, learn how to play. The other part of that is that, and I'm fully confident that both of these guys are going to go on someday to coach, and they'll just have more knowledge.
Absolutely,
have a bigger knowledge base to coach from.
Mm-hmm. Now, Katrina, you had, I got some notes from Aaron Laban on the side. Did you have something else you wanted to add about Libero's international play or something in that regard I should know about?
I'm trying to think of what specific thing.
Okay, she just sent me a note, but we can come back to it if you need to. But we also have another question from the audience. So this is kind of a two-part question that they posed from Facebook, is they want to know how tall you guys are, what you can jump touch, and a secondary question is, how tall is the libero on your current team? So Kat, we'll start with you. How tall are you? What can you jump touch if you know? And how tall is your libero on your professional team?
I'm just over 6'3", and I can jump touch. Ooh. Last time I measured was many years ago, but I can easily touch a basketball ring. So
fair enough. And how tall is the libero on your professional team or your national team?
Oh, quite short, very short. Maybe 5'6" max.
Okay. All right. So bottom line, volleyball players can be tall or short as long as you can ball, and provide something for your team. You can be a player.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. My libero on the Oz team is actually 6 foot, so she's quite tall for it. Okay. And then to play with liberos that are 5'1" and dominate. So it varies. Like there's no specific position for a specific size of player. You can be any size, shape, height, and you can play any position. You should be playing any position.
Touche. I love it. Love it. Kayla, same question. How tall are you? What can you jump touch if you know? And how tall is your libero?
Yeah. Well, I totally agree with Kat. But I'm like like 6'3", and the last time I jump touched, I think it was like 10'6" or 10'7", something like that. That's like pretty comparable to basketball ring. And maybe it's taller. I don't know.
That means you can dunk a small Nerf ball. You're good.
Okay. Okay. And libero, yeah, I mean, it all varies. My last team that I played on, she was short. I want to say she was maybe 5'4" or 5'5". But then I've also played with ones that are 5'9" or 5'10". So it really doesn't matter. I think you can be any size and be any position. So
Awesome. Thank you. And again, I think the main story is that all of us hit it is, it doesn't matter how tall you are. Being tall obviously helps with some things, but if you can ball and you can play, it doesn't matter, what size, shape, personality you are. If you can ball, you can ball, and just be a good player and good teammate, and you can go really far with this game. So next question I want to see is, people are always interested about cool cultural stories outside of volleyball. So maybe you could tell us about, the first time you went to a new country, whether it be you coming to the United States or you leaving the United States, and you get into a restaurant, you get into a hotel room or dorm room, you step on the court and you just look at something and you go, what are they doing or what are they eating? And I don't understand. So what cool story do you have there that you can tell without embarrassing anybody too much? Kayla, I'll leave that to you. What cool story do you have and where were you?
sure. Okay. Well, one of the first thing that pops into my mind when I think of that is when I was in Finland. It's really cold there, like the coldest place I've ever been, and it snows a ton. I grew up in New York. I went to school in Denver. I know what the cold is, but I was not expecting that. So, it would snow feet every day. Talking like go into practice and you just cleaned your car off and then come out and there'd be a pile of snow and ice on your windshield to drive home. So you had to do it all over again, like 4 times a day. And it was the dead of winter, and these Finnish girls on my team, they would ride their bikes to practice. And not only the Finnish girls on my team, everyone was riding their bikes. And we had a car, and I would always say, do you need a ride? No, I'm gonna bike. I'm good. And you'd see them on the road. It's an ice slick road with feet of snow, and they're just on their bike, like cruising, like it's normal any other day. And our gym from our apartments were probably 1.5 miles, 2 miles to the gym. And I thought that was very funny because I don't know if I would want to be.
Now, Kayla, of course, you started biking to practice, right? After that?
In the spring, yeah. In the spring.
Very cool.
I don't trust myself on this ice. I'm skid out or something.
Awesome. Thank you. Kat, now I'd be curious. I don't know if you want to tell us about, your first time in the U.S. or if you have another story you want to share instead.
My favorite story is probably like from Thailand, because I love trying new foods, weird and wacky foods. I love trying it all. But also like within Thailand, you get there and you're treated like royalty. Being a volleyball player, everyone's like they're all really involved with volleyball. You get guards, you get your own security to drive you around everywhere. You got the police to clear the way for our bus and everything. And then you get people asking for autographs and photos. So it's pretty crazy. But so at one of the tournaments, we just finished up. So like this is the only time I would try these foods. I would never try it during the middle of tournaments, just in case. You never know if you're gonna get sick or not, especially in those countries. But so they had street food out the side of the stadium, and one of the food was balut, which is fertilized duck egg.
Okay.
So it's like a hard-boiled duck egg with a baby duck inside. So of course I had to try it. And yeah, it was interesting, but definitely something I've tried and I'm happy I've tried, but probably won't go back to.
I just want the rest of our audience to know no baby ducks were harmed in the making of this show. All right. Oh my goodness, Kat. All right. Lovely. Yeah, Thailand is definitely, I've heard, a very interesting place as far as food choices go, without a doubt. No, that's 2 great stories. so Kayla, I want to go back to your very, very first answer. And you talked about the first time you walked into the high performance tournament. But I want to take that and I want to go down both these roads for you. Kayla, what other stories or insights would you tell somebody about the Jiva High Performance team? What memory do you have of it? That was really cool, whether it be in Iowa or somewhere else. That you could share with us. Why would somebody want to play for the Jiva High Performance team, or what stories can you tell?
Yeah, well, from my personal experience, I can think of a lot of reasons why you guys should, or everybody that's lucky enough to be in this region should play for Jiva, because it truly was. I attribute the fact that I moved on with my volleyball career to Jiva, because I was able to see another side of volleyball, and it really opened up a world for me. So going back to some stories that I have, well, just as what we were talking about, we kind of touched on it before about playing 6 rotation. That's a huge part of it, because most college teams and all professional teams and in Europe and stuff, and USA team as well, Olympic team, they run a 6-1 system, and they run more of an international system where you have to be playing back row. So that was a huge component. And also just being able to be in a situation with a new set of girls, a new set of coaches, that makes your learning further along as well. Being able to adapt and be with new girls and in a different environment, and being able to travel to this huge competition, the High Performance Championships, was really important and really, really eye-opening. So like I said earlier, a lot of friends that I made on the Jiva team, as well as people from all over the world now that I have friends with, I mean, I'm not lying when I say this, I'm still in contact with them on a regular basis. Girls from Hawaii, girls all over. So it was really, that experience I think is special in itself, because not only are you learning new skills, developing as a player, but you're also interacting with other people from the country and the world about their volleyball experiences and sharing that with them, it's huge. It's really special. And
Awesome. Now, Kayla, I seem to remember, and I'll let you decide if you want to tell the story or if you want to pass it to Coach Doyle. I seem to remember your Jiva High Performance team having one of the biggest upsets in high performance history, when the Jiva team beat a particular USA team. And that was a pretty big deal for a regional team to beat a USA team. That's not supposed to happen. Do you remember that day, or do you want to pass that story off to Papa Doyle over here?
I do remember, but I would love to hear Bill, from the lens of Bill.
Well, the story goes that it was one of the assistant coaches from a previous Olympics, I believe it was in Sydney, who was coaching the other team. And region teams were not supposed to beat USA teams. And it quickly became the tour, because out of the gate, the first match of the tournament, we handily defeated the USA team. And Kayla was a big part of that, because we had an attack on the right side that they just weren't handling very well. I think, but the story goes, I mean, this is the world of volleyball, because the story goes on that I think, that was, I think the coach was a little impressed, because fast forward a few years, Kay was playing for him in Denver. So I don't know if she remembers that part, that was the coach. But it was pretty amazing. It was that was the talk of the tournament for the first 3 days. Who's that Jiva team? Who, when we first started high performance, we wouldn't win a match when we went there. And then we started medaling, and it was a little different. Who's that Jiva team that just beat Tom Hogan's team?
Well, I still remember days where they used to call us Giva, and now we're Jiva, so they actually know who we are now. And where,
yep. It's different. But that was, it was a great team. It was a great bunch of kids. I got some of my favorite photos. I don't know, Kayla might remember this photo, but we were in Fort Lauderdale, and there was this chair that held the whole team. So it was this wooden chair that made Kayla look small. You remember that? You remember that chair? Yeah, yeah. And it's just great pictures of great kids. And the other, the part of that is, I think when you get to that level, the people are different. The people are about team. The people are about caring about each other and taking care of each other. And I think that's probably a big part of it. So that's one of my fondest memories.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely, I remember that too. Kayla, did you have more?
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, me too. I get the biggest smiles, and then I have all of these memories still with me from that time, and it really was a turning point. I knew I wanted to play in college. I wanted to go to a Division I school. I knew I wanted to play professional. I knew that these are the things that I just knew I wanted to do it. And it's all because my eyes were opened in this situation, and I was able to be with Coach Titus and Coach Doyle and experience this together. I mean, it really was the start of everything, and it changed my life.
I'm so happy for you.
Definitely awesome stuff.
Best memories. And it was, and plus the fact it's so fun because you get to be on this team that's different from your club team, as well as travel to an awesome location and meet all of these great volleyball players, learn to be a better volleyball player, and compete at such a high level. So it's a win-win, really.
Fair enough. Thank you, Kayla. Thank you. So, Kat, along the same lines, what other cool stories can you tell from being on that Australian national team? What are you guys doing right now, while you're stuck in quarantine to get ready? And, what goofy story can you tell us about the Australian national team? Because, I mean, I don't know if you've heard, but people tend to equate Australians being a little silly sometimes.
Yeah, we can be, definitely. Yeah, well, at the moment we can't do anything. We can't train. We can't see each other. So we're just staying fit, doing our workouts with our strength and conditioning coach via online sort of thing. So making sure we keep fit, ready for when we actually can get back into volleyball. But yeah, when we go overseas, it's pretty much just one big family with us for the Australian team. We meet up, because we only meet up a couple of times a year. It's always good fun. We always make the most out of the situation and everything. For my birthday last year, I was over in somewhere, one country, I can't remember where specifically. We were playing a tournament, and so the girls, because they couldn't get a cake, they got an apple and what they thought was a candle and brought it into the room where everyone was there, but unfortunately it was a firework. Not a shoot off or anything, but it had a nice, decent flame that we're like, we should probably put this out quickly. But nothing will ever live up to that cake, though.
Oh my goodness, that's one way. Lovely, without a doubt. So it sounds like a great birthday celebration there. Oh
yeah, it was good fun. But back to what Coach Laban asked about the liberos, and also goes on with Mr. Doyle's comment about playing all the way around, sort of thing. When I was this past year, so it would have been March or something, as I was coming over my injury, I came into the team again with my pro team, and I was playing libero for a game. So I put on the libero jersey and had good fun in the back row.
There you go. Very cool. And how did you enjoy that? You had a lot of fun?
Oh yeah, it was good fun. Really good fun. I love defense. So
nice. All right. So we got another question from Facebook, and it kind of goes along with that defense libero question. And I'm curious on to your two answers on this, because Coach Doyle already answered a little bit. But the question from Facebook is, when did you start being specialized as a right side? What makes that position unique? And when should I start specializing as a player, if at all? It's a tough question. I'll start with Kat on this one. Put you on the spot here.
So I was a middle for the first 3 years of my, like only middle, 3-4 years of volleyball. So I didn't know how to pass, didn't know how to defend, didn't know how to do anything but play middle. And then it was after a few Oz tournaments, with the junior team, one of the coaches came up to me and was like, you probably would do pretty well at the right side. You should try it out. And so I gave it a shot and fell in love instantly. And so that's kind of where I stuck for a while. Kind of every now and again, a team would need me as middle, so I switched to a middle for a little bit. But right side was where I stayed there. And except recently, I've been more transitioning to an outside now. So pretty much any position. I've played setter during one spring season when all our setters were injured.
Yeah, I remember that.
So I've now played every position on the court, which is good fun. Yeah. What was the other part?
In essence, isn't a trick question. We ask, when did you start specializing? Is the answer that you kind of never did, or?
I specialized immediately as a middle. 4 years, just only a middle. And then after that, I transitioned to a right side. And there was predominantly a right side for a few years. And then from there, I've kind of now progressed to kind of everything to open my skill set, really.
Yep.
But it's kind of a hard question of when you should start specializing in everything as well. I coached a team of girls over in Sweden, ages 13 to 16. 16 was the oldest, they were all like 13, 15-year-olds. And I chose not to specialize them just purely because I wanted them all to get an understanding of how to play the game first before only understanding one specific spot.
No, it's great. I'm glad you answered that way. So I'll ask the same question to Kayla, and I think we're all going around the same thing, but Kayla, I think your situation may be a little bit different than Kat. I feel like you've been a right side for a long time for an obvious physical reason, right?
Yeah. So they did actually start me off as middle, but that's because I was tall. But I was pretty quickly switched over to right side because I am a lefty. I'm left-handed. So that usually goes better than pairs along better with being a right side. So for that case, it was more of a, deserve to be on the right side of the court because of the angles and that kind of stuff. So yeah, mine was earlier on, but just going off that, I predominantly played a 6-2 for a long time. And once I started training back row, learning to pass, learning to play defense, and learning to defend, that is where I think I was moved up to a higher level as a player, because then you are more versatile. There's games that my coaches had to, in college and even professionally, where my coaches put me on the outside for a couple of games and matches, and I was able to adapt to that. So I think the most important thing is, what we've all been talking about and what Kat said as well, is I was put on the right side because I am a left-handed player, and I do love it. But also it's important to be as well-rounded as a player as you can and learn all the skill sets, because then you're more versatile and you're useful, where your coach can say, oh God, our outside got hurt, or oh my God, our libero's hurt, like throw this jersey on and get in there. And they can feel confident about you being able to do that position to the best of your ability because you're trained all around and you know how to pass, you know how to hit, you know how to defend, so I think that's the most important thing, rather than specializing at a young age.
Awesome. No, thank you. So I'm going to ask this two next questions, and this is going to be where, hey, coaches in the audience out there, you want to listen, because I'm going to give you what the players said about coaching. So I'm going to ask them in a little bit to explain their favorite drill or types of drills, what made drills fun, and were those drills scored, were they not scored, did coaches focus more on quality, quantity, what were the most fun drills, but also drills where they felt like they learned and were effective too. So I'll throw it back to Katrina. Katrina, can you, say, hey, what was one of your favorite drills? Why was it fun? Or what makes practice hard, rewarding, and fun at the same time?
Competition within practice is always good fun. You always kind of build up that level, that extra level needed in like that you need in the game within the training the setting sort of thing. So that always added an element of excitement to training. I personally like, especially if things aren't going right, breaking down the drills. It might seem slow, some might seem boring to some, but like you can really focus on the nitty gritty stuff so that if you get that right, you can build back up to what you need to get to, rather than trying to focus on the outcome, you focus on the delivering system sort of thing. So.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So are you getting to like a kind of like a whole, like go play, focus on something and then you go play again kind of deal?
Yeah. So like, start off and then you go play. And if things aren't working quite well or something's not quite meshing, kind of stop, break it down, go slowly through it, then build it back up to the play so that they can bring what was learnt into the game system. And then from there onwards, whenever they're in the game system, we have that skill set that we've just focused on.
Got it. And Kayla, same thing. The particular drill you loved as a player, or a type of drill, or what parts or facets of a drill are most important to you as a player?
Yeah, I would mostly agree with Kat actually on this. Well, I like, a lot of different kind of drills for a different reason, but I think that competition is the main thing. Like when you're in that kind of environment, it just brings your practice to another level. So I think that's really important. But as well as doing an aspect of a skill and then bringing it in, just like Kat was saying, like breaking it down and then bringing it in. Like I remember some of my favorite practices where we would start out right off the bat, we would compete. Like there was a time of period where you warm up on your own, you get your swings in, and then it's 2 o'clock and our practice starts and we're going after each other, just like scoring one ball, really fast. And then we would break it down into skill. I love working on different skills, like whether you're working on serve receive one day or blocking one day. I think that's really important as well, to get those reps in and get some work with your technique, but then also bringing it back at the end. I loved when we would play this game called USA, or we would change it from USA to, I loved that game because if we were working on something for, say, let's just say we spent a block of practice working on our blocking schemes and routines and different plays like blocking cross, blocking line, that kind of stuff. Then when we transitioned it over to playing a game like USA, you would get a double point if you used one of our blocking systems and that kind of stuff. So I think just enhancing it with those kind of rules and other competitive aspects, I think that really helps you nail it home. And if you're trying to get better at something like your blocking, you're able to focus on it more, but then you're also in a real game, real playing situation that you can think about that, but also be thinking about the 80 other things that you have to do to make this play, that kind of stuff. So I think that those are definitely my favorite. I love like really intense, like going after it practices where it's fast, but then it is really important. And I do just as much love working on skill stuff because then you can really hone in, and maybe you want to work on your angle getting a certain way, and you have where you can
when you turn off your phone, please. Thank you.
Yeah.
No, Kayla, it sounds great. I mean, from what I've heard from both of you is, we want competition, we want fun, we want high speed drills when possible. But if things are broken, mind slowing them down and learning, that process as well, as long as we speed it back up, pretty quickly. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. One of the hardest things I think I found within trainings is forcing yourself to do things. You don't want to do.
Turned off.
So, like, I've never been one to enjoy serve receive, and so I've never enjoyed serve receiving drills. Mm-hmm. But the more that you force yourself to do things that you don't enjoy or the feel you're not good at, the better you become and the more you enjoy them in the end, sort of thing. So it's just, you need to kind of force yourself into those hard drills that you really don't want to do to make yourself better, to then therefore enjoy those drills later on.
Perfect. So Kat, you transitioned right into my next form, which I know, we've had many conversations about in the past. I remember talking to Kayla about some of these things as well and working with her on some of these things. And feel free to open up as much as you want about this. And, this is, open to everybody, is, how do you, or what mechanisms or what ideas do you use when things are tough, when things are hard? What breathing techniques, what rituals, what guidance have you used to force yourself into those tougher situations to create a bigger, better you and take those challenging times with a positive growth mindset rather than a fear? And what do you do if the fear gets overwhelming sometimes? How do you hit the reset button? What are your techniques to cope with that as a player? Kat, I'll open up to you first.
If things aren't working well for me, so usually I go back to basics, focus on the things I know, things that I trust, that I know I'm a good volleyball player. I know some specific skills that I am good at. I know how to do those skills. So I focus on doing those skills rather than necessarily the outcome. And like over the years, I've learned that it's okay not to be perfect, but you should still keep aiming to be. And volleyball is a game of mistakes. You're winning points by the other team's mistakes, or you're losing points by your mistakes, sort of thing. So you shouldn't take the mistakes too hard. You should just understand that you made a mistake, learn from it and move on, and try to fix what is wrong by focusing on the basics again. Start from the start.
Fair enough. I like it. Kayla, same question. Things are going rough for you. You're having a bad day. How do you hit the restart button or refocus button, especially when you're on the court and you got to transition fast?
Yeah. So for me, something that really helps me out when I'm playing, I think about, for each skill, I used to do this a lot more often, because then once you start doing it, it gets more embedded in your brain and it's kind of automatic. But I would think of 3 things, like it would be 3 short key words or something that when something triggered in practice that I did something in a good way, I would say, okay, like I remember one of my words for hitting was like ponytail. So it was really random and nobody knew what that meant. But to me, it had this meaning where I was going to open my shoulders so wide to get to that ball, so it meant something to me. But let's just say something would happen. And that's something I use like heat of the moment if something's happening.
I'm going to pause you right there. Show me what physically ponytail looks like so people understand because I know exactly what you're talking about, but I want you to show me what's ponytail.
So it would be like, I think it was, what was it? I think it was like point and ponytail or something. So I remember to point because I'm a lefty, my right arm.
Yep.
I would like reach. So I would like hold, because I wear this really big high ponytail when I play, and I'd have to like grab it, like physically grab it, because usually if something was going wrong, I wasn't opening up or something like that. So that would be my key thing. But I would have 3 things. So if I'm in the middle of a play and we have that time where someone's going to serve, I would say, okay, ponytail, I'm just going to say 3 random things for the sake of it. Ponytail, pen, paper. Those weren't them. But then I'd be like, oh yeah, that's all I have to do. Ponytail, pen, and paper. And it really broke it down and made it simple for me. And that really helped, as well as I would also, so I had 3 things for each specific, and it doesn't have to be 3, but I'd have it for each specific skill as well. So if I was passing or something, I'd say open, angle, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
Or just, for me, something as simple as just breathing is really important, because I think when you're especially playing, you can get stressed out and like have a lot of stuff going through your mind that you kind of forget to breathe and like take in what's actually happening. So there's time in between a play. That's the great thing about volleyball. There's time before someone's going back to serve or after a point happens where you can like stop and just breathe for a second. And then that really, it's amazing how much that can recenter and refocus you on what you're trying to achieve. So that helps a lot.
Absolutely. Now, focused breathing, without a doubt, is a big one. But coaches, if you have to learn one thing today, I think that ponytail idea is a perfect one. And what Kayla did with probably without even realizing it is she took an incredibly complex skill and she put it into one word, and her coach put it into one word, literally by saying the word ponytail. She's now told herself, I'm going to extend my offhand. I'm going to get my elbow up. I'm going to open my hips. She has explained that to her mind in one word. Coaches, remember that. We can compartmentalize things and do that all the time. So, try not to say in a game, especially in competition, don't say extend your arm. Don't say open your hips. Don't say get your elbow up. Instead, say ponytail. And they know all those things in one word. And it saves your breath and they like it better. Mr. Doyle, anything to regarding the idea of, compartmentalizing, giving quick, good feedback as a coach and, things like that. I love that concept. You're muted, by the way.
Hey, yeah, it's I think it's the same in anything. I think we gain these skills and we just do them. If I told you tomorrow that starting tomorrow you had to eat with a fork, but you had to put the food in your ear, it'd take you a while to figure that out and to get that. But you know where your mouth is. You don't have to look for it. You know where it is. It's the same thing. When you do things over and over again, you just remind yourself, oh, I'm in public. I have to behave differently. Different little things like that. Public behavior, Bill. Outside voice, inside voice, those kind of things. It becomes routine, and the more you can make it routine, the more you can make it. It takes anywhere from 9 to 90 days to change a habit.
Mhm.
Okay, and so the more you can make it easy and compactable, if you will, to change a habit and replace the behavior, replace an old behavior. Whatever works for you works for you. I'm not going to tell John, you have to do this. You have to learn this way. I just kind of get John to understand what it is he needs to learn and guide him along. The guided discovery thing is pretty important. And I think that's what a lot of us didn't understand when we were young coaches.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, guided discovery, making that individual, it makes it authentic learning. When a player learns it themselves and you present it as a facilitator rather than that holder of all knowledge, in the traditional sense, without a doubt. And, but, you have to have the right culture and climate, which we talked about in previous areas as well. But I think those things like mnemonic devices and these ways we can, package things to understand bigger, more complex concepts are really cool coaching tools. So I have to say, Katrina, and I don't want you to answer this question, I just want you to be aware of it. On Facebook, Kenzie wants to know, don't answer this question, Kenzie wants to know who your favorite teammate is, but don't answer that question.
Of course she does.
So what I want to do now, I want to ask, what was your favorite career highlight so far? And what are we going to see from Kayla and Kat next? So what's your favorite highlight of your career? And what are you going to do next? Kayla?
Oh man, that's hard.
I know, it's a tough one.
Whew. I'll just pick one. It's very hard to pick though, because there's so many. Oh man. Do you want like a current one or a past one?
Oh man, you're prying now. So Facebook wants to know, what's your favorite career highlight?
Whew, okay. I'm trying.
Yeah, I'm sure any of them will be fine. You're going to tell a great story either way.
All right, you're right. I'll do this one from college because this was a pretty cool moment.
Mhm.
So, going into when I played at University of Denver, they had never won they hadn't been to the NCAA tournament in a long time. So we wanted to change history for the DU program and we wanted to take it to the next level. So we said, all right, let's do this. So I think that was one of my favorite moments. Winning our conference tournament freshman year, going into the NCAA tournament, playing at that high level, that was a huge moment.
Mhm.
And it showed that all of our hard work accumulated to that. As well as I'm thinking of more now. I'm like, oh, I got so many. I think
if you want to quickly throw out a couple highlights, I'm fine with that.
Throw out one more. I'll just throw out one more because this one was definitely playing in Champions League was for sure my career highlight. Playing against the top team in Russia, playing against the top team in Turkey, Jordan Larson, players of that caliber in Europe. It was like, I still can think about it and have chills in my body, because that, I remember standing there, our first Champions League game, and I was like an out of body experience. I could still feel like I was there, and I brought myself out of it, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm playing against the best players in the world. And to think that it all started with me saying, okay, I guess I'll try out for volleyball, and getting to that moment and playing with Jiva, and then getting to that moment and starting this. Wow.
It's a great journey. Yeah, good deal. So, all right, Kayla, what's next on the volleyball agenda?
So next, well, that's a good question, because we all are in a little bit of a global pandemic right now. So, kind of just waiting that out and hoping, well, definitely want to keep playing and becoming a better player. That's the goal every day, and becoming a better volleyball player and continue to play professionally in Europe. So that's the plan as of right now.
Sounds like a good plan. So, Kat, same questions. Couple highlights, or one big highlight if you want, and a little story behind that, and then kind of what's next.
Well, I have two big career highlights that I cannot decide which one between. The first would be our championship win, our conference win in my senior year for college with Coldwell. We came up against, so the year before when I was a junior, we came up against the same team and they demolished us in 3 sets. They won the championship that year. And so in 2017, we came up against them again. They beat us in the first set quite easily. And then we switched mindsets and we just dominated for the next 3. And that was magnificent. It was amazing to win that. Oh, it was so good. We'll never get over that day. It was so good. The second highlight would be with the Australian senior team last year. We came up against Cameroon, which are ranked, 17th in the world. They went to the Olympics, the past Olympics, I'm not sure. So we played against them. We weren't expected to win. We weren't expected anything. We were down 2-0. They beat us quite drastically in one of the sets. I think it was like 25-15 or even worse than that. And then the next 3 sets, we came out firing and we won it in 5 sets.
It's not easy to do, to come back in 5 after being down 0-2, especially in international play. Awesome. Yep. Cool. All right, Kat, what's next? I know you got a little rehab going on.
Yeah, I hurt my ankle September last year, so at the start of my first pro season, right in pre-season. So I've been pushing through that throughout the season. It hasn't been fun. It's been very painful. So finally getting that sorted. Yesterday finally had results of what was wrong with my ankle and got some cortisone injections into it. So hoping that will help it out a little bit. And if not, maybe go into surgery to fix it up. But hopefully the injections work.
Got it. I mean, we do too. Yeah, hoping for a speedy recovery there and you get back on the court very soon.
I mean, if there was a good time for it to get fixed, it's now when I can't really do anything anyway. So getting all those injuries sorted now, so by the time we can get back into international volleyball, I can be good to go and good to build back up.
Perfect. So what I'm going to do now is, Bill, I'm going to open up to see if you have a particular question for either of them. And then I'm going to do some closing remarks. And then Kayla and Kat, the last question I'm going to ask is, what advice would you give to your 14 or 15-year-old self, or what do you want people to know out there, that you could give to a young player, a coach in the audience? What should people know or be aware of as far as coaching young volleyball players in the Jiva region or anywhere in the world? So that's the question I'm going to ask in a little bit. I'll let you think and ponder on that. But Mr. Doyle, do you have any closing remarks or questions you want to ask to our group here? Oh my gosh, did he freeze at the last second? I think Mr. Doyle might have froze. Maybe he'll come back. It happens. Beautiful technology. I just picked him out. All right, so maybe Bill doesn't have a question. That's okay. So let me give my closing remarks and maybe Bill will come back. We had a great show. Definitely enjoyed having Kayla, Kat, and Bill on here this evening. Aaron LeBand behind the scenes. Couple programming notes. The ABCA All Region nominees for Coach of the Year, Innovator of the Year, and Networks Award, those nominations closed on Sunday. We did put a committee together and we did finalize our recipients of those awards. Those will probably be broadcasted either on next week's show or the week after that. So that's a huge one with those new awards. A couple other things to know. For next week, our show will include reality TV star shows from The Amazing Race. For those of you that don't know, we have two former Jiva Beach players and juniors players, Katie O'Connor, who used to be Katie Seaman, and Rachel Johnston, who were both seen on the TV show Amazing Race, were great beach professional volleyball players in their day and won many tournaments in the New Jersey, New York area and all over the country and had great collegiate careers as well. So we're kind of hitting two facets at once, the volleyball side and the reality TV show star side. And I'm really looking forward to that show. Kayla and Kat, I don't know if did you guys watch The Amazing Race? And you remember when Katie and Rachel were on the show, the volleyball players that were on the show?
I've never seen that show.
It was a while ago. I don't think they have it too much anymore, but it was a cool show back in the day. And we were really proud as a region when that happened. This is probably going back on 10 years ago. So it's been some time now, but it was a lot of fun. Kat, I don't even know if they broadcasted the show in Australia.
No, I'm sure they did, but we have our own version, so we probably watched our own version.
Understood. So, but they will be on the show next week at 5 o'clock. It's going to be a lot of fun to see those volleyball players and kind of what they're up to now and the same insights that we heard here with Kat and Kayla. For those of you who have any other questions or anything I can help you with, my name again is John Titus. You can reach me at john.titus@giva.org if you have any questions, any show ideas, or any feedback that you want to give there, or you can put in the comment section below. So with that said, like I said before, Kayla and Kat, what advice would you give to a young version of yourself, a player coming up, or something you want coaches in the audience to be aware of? We'll start with Katrina.
So the biggest thing that I've learned from a past coach, this one of the best coaches I've had, is don't teach your kids that mistakes are okay. Don't be hard on them when they're learning, and so don't punish the mistakes. But the lack of effort that has been put in should be just definitely discouraged in some sort of way. The mistakes are going to happen when they're learning. We're always learning, but if we're not putting in the effort, we should not be out there. We should be being punished for not the effort, so that when we get to the game, we're putting in 110% no matter what's happening, no matter what part of the game. Even if we're 24-1 down, we should still be putting in all that effort no matter what. I have to tell myself, my younger self, so I've suffered major panic attacks throughout the years. So that's gone along with mistakes that I've made, sort of thing. So I'm pretty much a perfectionist. If it's not perfect, I'm kind of upset with myself. So I would tell my younger self just to relax, enjoy the game. Mistakes are bound to happen. Learn from them and move on.
Fair enough. I agree. Focus on the skill, but give them the ability to make mistakes. But as a coach, we can, work with the effort level more so than the skill level. Keep that ideas, in separate categories. So Kayla, same idea. What do you tell your younger self? And, what could you tell coaches out there as words of advice?
I think that work ethic and positivity has a lot more meaning than when you think about it. If I think about what got me to this point and what has been something that has been a continuous part of my volleyball career, it's that I've never wanted to stop working or learning or growing. I think that's super important, is to just keep working and pushing yourself, because everybody is capable of amazing things. Not to put a limit or a potential on a certain player or a certain person, because you never know how far they can go. I mean, to this day, I'm still, and throughout my whole college career, I'd go into practice early, I'd stay after. I was constantly, and I still am constantly working to get to a higher level and to get to a better level. And I think that's so important.
Awesome. No, thank you again, both. You guys both did an amazing job. I thought this conversation was amazing. We were scheduled to go maybe 45 minutes. We went almost an hour and 20. So you guys did incredible. It was a super conversation. And, I couldn't be proud of you. Jiva couldn't be more proud of you. And, we thank you for your time in Jiva and look forward to what you two will do, in the coming years and beyond. Aaron LeBam, thank you behind the scenes, and Mr. Bill Doyle, wherever you've gone, thank you so much for your time as well and your support with all of this. I'm John Titus. Thank you for another episode of Jiva Live. Have a great evening.
Bye.